Hey guys, this will be video 17 for the how to design build a 59 Korina Les Paul replica using StewMac templates. And this is going to be a fairly short video because I'm just going to do a bit of a flyby with regards to epoxy glue in the neck end. Turned out very well, very happy with that. Still got a little bit of work to do as far as shaping, sanding, and all that jazz, but the fitment is, I couldn't have really asked for a better fitment. It just turned out extremely well. Let's see if that's in the camera. Sometimes I think I'm in the camera and I'm not. Okay, I think that was a good view. So I'm very happy with it. And as far as tap tone, I'm not gonna hit it very hard. It's really, I'm not surprised. I mean, it's exactly what I was expecting. It's what I've always seen in all the guitar necks that I've epoxied in. They turn out really good. So very, very happy with that. Beautiful little guitar coming together. So the next thing would be to prepare to finish the guitar. And I guess the next thing would be to start verifying your scale and where everything is going to land, and or what limitations you might be working with, like certain lengths and stuff like that, because you might have a certain width nut that you're working with that you really want it to land in a perfect location. But for the most part, you're always working from this joint right here being the 16th fret. But that doesn't mean that you have to have it perfectly centered. Oh, where's my little... I have a little fretboard. Oh, here it is. The actual fret itself could either fall, perfectly in. I don't know if that's in center because I'm looking at it on an angle, but it could either fall perfectly in center, or if your neck was a little bit short or a little bit long, then you might manipulate the location of that fret, okay? So in other words, your fret might fall a little bit high. That other little guitar that I show all the time, it connects the body about 60% all the way up to the 17th fret, okay? So, but rule of thumb, that's the 16th fret location. All right. So, so once you assess, where everything is going to land, it's time to prepare to start routing this stuff out. And I'm not going to do any work in this video at all. I just want this to be kind of a 20-25 minute video tops of just general discussion about what you want to do next. But you still have the luxury of making the decision whether you go with P90s or humbuckers. You're still not forced to go any particular route. So once you find where that fretboard is going to end, I think that's the 16th fret. Yeah, that's the 16th right there. So once you find where that fretboard is going to end, like, is it going to end right at flush with the edge of the cavity? It shouldn't. It should be about close to a 1/16 of an inch max above the hole, especially if it's a P90. They're fairly close. If it's, considerable, then you might want to consider relocating. Well, you shouldn't have let that happen, especially if you were going with P90 since they don't have the pickups around. But when you're going with a humbucker, you've got the liberty to put it wherever you want, whether it's tight or close. So we're moving in the direction of routing the cavities for the pickups. Okay. And then on that note, you would make your marks. And let's say you were going to go with your P90, then you could take advantage of this template here and your bamboo skewers and all the stuff you've already done. And I basically come in with a double-sided tape. I come in with a double-sided tape, which I create my own with the jet glue and masking tape. I jet glue that down into place, and I have a wedged uh, platform between the top of the neck and that, and then I just jet glue that in place. And typically I just do it somewhat flat. I wouldn't recommend putting the template on a pitch with the neck itself, but and you can see where this template is falling. It's perfectly in line with the top edge of the P90. So all I'll be routing out in order to put P90s in this body is just this little area back here, and then that little area up front. Okay, and that's why I went into that lengthy conversation about how it is that I route out that top prior to epoxy gluing it down. And then once you're aligned back here with these, then you simply cut those off flush so that the router can move atop that. And obviously, since it's the arched top, you've got to have something to help you keep it stabilized, and that's where you stabilize it down here with some sort of real nice flat wedge that makes certain that it keeps it nice and level. Okay, so just it's all self-explanatory. You know, I'm not going to show you how to use tape or how to glue that crap down because it's just that, it's self-explanatory. So that would be the P90. But if you decided to go with the humbuckers, same thing. Obviously, you'd be temporarily gluing a little spacer right there to hold it on center, because this is very gentle router work. And then you'll see that with this configuration, you'll be leaving all this area open. Well, you don't have to do anything back there. All you'll be doing is routing out that front. Okay, or vice versa, or the opposite up here is you'll just be routing out just this little bit back here. Is that right? Yeah, you'll just be routing out just that little bit back there, and obviously the tenon end as well. So that's why I like these templates. And as long as you kind of plan your work your plan, you don't have to make any critical decisions too early in the game, because leave yourself room to change your mind, because if anything, that kind of keeps the job exciting. And also, if you're building a guitar from used parts, things will pop up online that are just almost like once in a lifetime opportunities. Man, seize the opportunity, because I can assure you, if I was planning on building this guitar with humbuckers, but then I tripped up on some authentic vintage P90s, I'd build this thing with P90s just around the authentic pickup that I found. Okay, but then again, eventually you have to make a decision and go in that direction. All right, let's see. What else should I talk about? Let me check the time. 8 minutes. This might be a world record length short video for me, because there's not a lot to talk about other than I talked about scale. You should have already engineered everything, and you should already have this pitch engineered such that you can come in now and just verify that this pitch goes up, and that there's a certain distance from the top of the body to the bottom edge of that point right there. Whatever that number is, you can subtract that number from your target bridge height, and then that's what you would want your frets, the string clearance, the thickness of the fretboard. That's what you would want everything to be machined at. So I say that to say this: if you wanted to increase the height of the bridge, then you could machine your fretboard just a little bit thicker, and or shim under it or things like that. Or if you kind of found out that, oh man, maybe I should have just gone with a 4-degree pitch rather than that 4.4 degree, and maybe you're realizing I'm getting closer to 3/4 of an inch height back here, and you want to lower it. Well, then you might machine this fretboard a little bit thinner. But I'm only talking, a 32nd of an inch either way here. I'm not talking, a 16th of an inch or stuff like that. If you missed it by a 16th of an inch, you did a poor job with your fitment and your pitch, or you got your top way too low, too flat. I'm not going to be negative. I'm just saying, try to engineer that stuff out on the front end. But if you found that you made a mistake, correct it now, because you own this guitar for a long time, and I've got a guitar upstairs that's about almost a 16th of an inch too high, and every time I pick it up, it's an odd thing getting used to playing that guitar when it should have been a little bit lower. Okay, it's got a beautiful tap tone. I think this is the third time I've done this video because I got too long-winded, so I apologize if I did a tap tone at the beginning of this video, but if I did, I will just do it again. But it turned out really good. It's going to be a very vocal little guitar. And what's interesting is it gets the epoxy, once it gets the nitrocellulose lacquer on it, and then it gets all the parts connected to it. The tone just continually changes and changes and changes. But as long as you don't overdo it with the paint thickness or the nitrocellulose thickness, it's going to be a very vocal instrument. Whether you go with a Korina or a Honduran mahogany, or I don't really recommend using any other woods on this type of guitar. But this is an interesting project because, again, I've never built a Korina Les Paul replica before. So in other words, I have no idea what this thing is going to sound like, but if it sounds anything like the 58 Explorer replica that I built, it should be off the charts. It should be a tone monster. All right, let me check the time. 12 minutes and 21 seconds. So you can go with P90s, you can go with humbuckers. At this point, it's time to start laying out your controls and stuff like that. And again, the reason I show these parts is because now these parts are for this Explorer. Well, actually, the Black Limba Explorer replica that I'm going to be building, and I just built that one on a whim, out of curiosity. I might talk about it a little bit at the end of this video, but this was kind of like a prototyping for my templates. Yeah, I will. I'll talk about that in a minute because that'll be interesting. That'll be an interesting discussion to talk about how you can machine your own templates. Excuse me. But when you start getting this close to finishing the guitar, you need to go ahead and order all your parts. And I mean pretty much everything that you're going to be working with. Your tuners, so that you can just, if you need to know a dimension, you can just pull a tuner out and measure it. Or if you need to, if you're curious how tall your pickup surrounds are, then you got one here. You can just reach up and measure. Because I've noticed that every time I go online, there's so much inconsistency. I don't trust anything online anymore. So, and you've got to have these parts regardless. So, just go and typically when I build a guitar, I go ahead and order every bit of this stuff on the front end. I want the whole guitar. I want the whole expense behind me. That way it doesn't nickel and dime me to death. And it also motivates me to look in a box and see this stuff sitting there just waiting for me to finish the guitar, whether it be a nickel or whether it be gold and stuff like that. But it really helps you do your final engineering if you have these parts in hand, and rather than trying to rely on any sort of specs and cut sheet data from online. So let's talk about templates a little bit, and then we'll end the video. Well, when I say templates, I mean like making your own templates. And The main reason I like the idea of making your own templates is I've got a piece of extremely valuable black Limba over there that I've already laid out. I know exactly where the guitar is for that, and that's going to be a 58 Explorer replica. Um, and I have such, I can't make any mistakes. If I slip up and make one mistake, well, then there's just not any material left over in order to assure that I finish that guitar with, the neck out of black Limba, the lower wing out of black Limba, the upper wing out of black Limba. And this goes for, if you're building a 59 black Limba, rather, let me make sure I clarify this. Black Limba is Korina. That's black Korina. But I wanted to, and this is obviously this is a blonde. This is a blonde Korina or Limba. Uh, but what I wanted to do was I wanted to build a really nice template so that when I'm machining out that really nice wood over there, I'm not really having to cowboy anything. Well, actually, I'm not cowboying anything at all. I'm just relying on a template in order to do the job. And you could build your template out of your plywood. And this is just like a CDX. It's nothing really spectacular. It's just from like a Home Depot. It's really affordable. And for the most part, it typically stays really nice and straight. So you could do all of your initial machine work on this. And if you change your mind about something, well, it's better to make an epoxy repair here and relocate those locations here rather than realizing that you made a mistake with your high dollar wood. So I did make this template quite a while back, but I did some final machine work the other night on this one, and then the more I thought about it, I'm going to go ahead and make an actual template per the Stuart McDonald specs with a score line, down the center. And this was, I think, an 18 by 24. And the very first thing I did was put this atop that piece 18 by 24, found the rough location for the score line, made the score line, and then I used the Stuart McDonald templates for the Les Paul in order to engineer all of the heart. Well, I shouldn't be pointing to that, but all of the heart of this guitar, this tenon, that bridge location, the bridge pickup location, the actual bridge location itself. I know this is clear, sometimes it doesn't show up. But I used the Les Paul, the 59 Les Paul Stuart McDonald template to create the heart, and then I just made certain that the footprint fell in line and on center with regards to the 58 Explorer replica. And these locations are spot on. And they're all based on this this drawing here, okay, which is a 58 spot on. However, this scale is a little bit inaccurate because this is a 25-inch scale, so you have to really factor all those things in. Otherwise, you'll get your pick guard. Your pick guard won't fit because this does not change. If I can get that to stand up. Obviously, this outer footprint is not going to change. Neither is this line, this location of the pick guard right here is not going to change. But once you get right here and right here, that center part is going to shift either one of two ways according to the scale and all that jazz, Okay, so I do have it all engineered out to be a 24.75 inch scale. And then after I did that, then I made these half templates. And I used these half templates in order to start assessing like raw material like wood. And then you can either, lay this on a board, go to your local woodwork shop where you're going to be buying your material. Just take these with you and typically make 2 sets, and that way you can lay everything out and determine whether you need whether you can build a guitar with a 7-foot long board, or does it need to be 7.5 or something like that, or according to the wider the board, obviously, that you're buying, then the shorter the board has to be. But the more narrow the board gets, then it has to get a little bit longer, and then you're going to be doing things like this, where you're going to be epoxy gluing this wing on, stuff like that, which is nothing wrong with it. But the reason what I did is I built this poplar prototype I just bought this wood from Home Depot. It was a 1x10, and so that's basically 3/4 of an inch by, I think, 9 1/4 in width. So from that point right there over to there is 9 1/4. The reason I got excited about buying that board is because it was rift sewn in a lot of that board. It was a beautiful, beautiful board to be $38 worth of wood from Home Depot. So I brought it home and started laying out with my paper templates whether I could get the guitar I wanted, and sure enough, was able to. And if you see this X pattern going on right here, I'm not going to be able to explain that, but whatever you do with the first 2 paper templates, once you get to the middle, just reverse it, and then once you cut those 4 pieces out, you can orient them so that they end up looking book matched, and it creates a cross pattern. Or it could have been a diamond, I could have put this upper piece on the bottom and this lower piece on the top, and then it would have been a diamond pattern. Not that you're doing that for a visual, I'm doing that for structural stability. And obviously what you're shooting for is, even though you're doing all this glue up, is a perfectly true top. Now, that's not easy to do, where you're gluing up 4 different boards and then you're gluing them on the center line and you're assuring that they're staying nice and flat, but it did. It stayed perfectly flat. So I've made the statement many times before: if you're building a particular guitar and you're going to be using really high dollar wood, let's build a prototype first using the poplar. It's $40 worth of wood. If we screwed something up, we can epoxy it up, fix it up. And if we weren't going to turn it into a guitar, well, you could hang it on the wall and turn it into a clock. But this is all day long a very nice guitar. I want you to hear this right here. Keep in mind, it's epoxied together. The top and the bottom are epoxied, but then it is glued. The center line is glued together with Titebond. Okay, but vocally, from the tap tone, this sounds incredible. Okay, so very nice. It's going to be a very nice little guitar. I'm going to sell this body. Just give someone a really good deal. Just throw it on eBay because I only wanted to build this body in order to lay that acrylic atop this poplar lower. Let me just put it together. And I jet glued everything down. When I say jet glue, I'm talking about using CA glue and tape and stuff like that. So I had this large piece of acrylic fastened atop this finished poplar body, and then I pulled out my router, and I only got in a hurry. I pushed the router a little bit too much right there, and I had some fleek out on the acrylic. But if you just go real slow, and it's a pretty painful, slow process to get that really fine machine work. But then once you do that, I can use this acrylic to very confidently build the entire guitar and really not even have to pull the tape measure out or the ruler, stuff like that. So turned out nice. Oh, one thing I can show here. Well, yeah, I'll cover this in another video, but one thing I did do differently, I'll cover it a little bit because when you're building a guitar, it's cool to know these things. You can go in from that point right there and come out right there in the channel, or you could come in this corner, okay, for your wiring channel. That way, and I've never seen anybody do this with an Explorer, but once the pick guard is down and your three-way and all this harness is in place, if you want to experiment with changing out the pickups, you don't have to remove that pick guard. All you can do, let's say you were going to replace just one of the two pickups, then obviously you just pull it loose at the surround, and then that pickup comes completely out, and you're able to feed. You should be able to. You should be able to feed that wire through without having to take the whole guitar apart. Okay. All right. Let me check the time. All right, 25 minutes. That's enough conversation about Explorers because this video is entitled for how to build a 59 Korina Les Paul replica. But I just wanted to show that where you could have, you could have made your own Les Paul replica template and traced it from a buddy's guitar or something like that. And I think it's really nice to work from the templates, or simply just go to StewMac.com. Again, I'm not affiliated with Stuart McDonald. I don't monetize my channel or any of that stuff. But I think a few $100 you could get this complete template set, and it really makes your job a lot easier and I think more enjoyable because anything that you might be questioning, you're able to just pick up this thing and just measure it, or look at how wide that is or how long it is, and you're not having to guess at things. It really helps. So all right, the next video related to this guitar is probably going to be quite a ways off because I've got a ton of work to do finishing up these two Explorers. But anything that you might be interested in related to building this guitar, like how to glue the fretboard down, well then just visit some of my early videos, and I go through a 2-hour-long process of how I set up to glue a fretboard down. And even though I typically epoxy my lowers in, I always glue these down with a tight bond. It makes it easier for the client if they did have some sort of catastrophic problem that they had to correct. It makes it easy to get this off. So if you want to see how that's done, just check out some of my early videos. I think I might have covered that in really extensive detail in building a 55 Black Beauty. That was from about 2 years ago. That was a beautiful guitar, and it turned out really, really nice. And I went into some pretty extensive detail about everything. I think there was like 26 videos related to that guitar. Showed you how to install P90s. We installed a Bigsby, a real nice B7 Bigsby. Aligned the Bigsby, showed you how to align the Bigsby in the bridge and all that jazz. And that was a great guitar. Turned out really well. So check that out. Or if you got any questions or comments, just let me know, and I'll do what I can to help out. Otherwise, I'll see you guys in the next video. And the next video will be me introducing how to build an Explorer, and I'll recap doing the whole template thing, and then moving in the direction very quickly of how to lay out the guitar that you want on the wood that's on your table, and how best to to do that, and then do it efficiently, so that you might be shocked that, hey, if I build this guitar, if I lay it out a certain way, I might be able to get 2 necks out of that whole project in just the guitar body, or I might be able to get 2 guitar bodies and the 1 neck or something like that. So having the templates, even if they're just in paper form, it really helps you see the guitar at hand. So, okay. So anyway, I appreciate you guys dropping in. I'll see you in the next video.